U.S. Men's National Soccer Podcast, Extra Time. I am Tim. This is Ryan. It has been a busy month for us. Thankfully, not a busy month for the U.S. Men's National Team, but things are getting underway. Over this last month, I got married right here. Ryan celebrated his 4th wedding anniversary. Our parents celebrated their 34th wedding anniversary, all in the span of 3 days. That excitement and joy is over. It's past. It was great. It was a fun time with family and friends. Just got to kind of relax. But, Ryan, 3 months to go to the Men's World Cup. How are you feeling?
I'm excited. I was actually talking with my boss the other day about how the World Cup should actually be done, right? Because we're in August, and it's normally in the summer. It's normally done by now. So, like any normal World Cup year, the World Cup would already be over.
Right, the World Cup would have been over for a while.
But we still have something to look forward to. Like the U.S. still has a couple more friendlies to play before the World Cup, and then we've got the World Cup, and one of those games falls on Black Friday, and I don't know if that's a world thing. It's a big thing here in the United States. Day after Thanksgiving, people go out shopping, but I've never done it before. But this year, if it was something I did do, I wouldn't have to worry about doing it because I'm not going to go because I got to watch the U.S. play.
Right. I think something that's going to be super cool about this year's World Cup is that game is not only on Black Friday, right? When we know that unless you're a retail person, and I'm really sorry, my heart goes out to you if you're a retail person on that day, you're probably glued to your television, right? What's the other big point of that game? It's England.
Correct.
So this is a huge day in America for soccer, and it really, honestly, potentially, and I mean this in all seriousness, could be a pinnacle, a turning point for U.S. soccer in this country, should we walk away with some points. But
yeah, so the big thing about the game is it is our second game, and a lot of things realize that second game is probably the most important, not because it's England, not because the U.S. is playing England. It's because if we don't get a result in the first game, we need a result in that game.
Agreed.
So if the U.S. loses to Wales, we go into that England game going, we need to win. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. The U.S. needs to come away with a win there to have a chance to get out of the group.
Agreed.
And I think that's something that will help light a fire under them. I'm hoping they get a result out of Wales. I do believe we will beat Wales. I do believe we will beat Iran. So I really don't see us not getting out of this group. I could actually see us winning all 3 games, which would be nice.
I could see us winning all 3 games, too. An interesting stat that was talked about in Greg Berhalter's interview on State of the Union with Alexei Lalas and his friend, and we'll get to this in a little bit. That first game, winning the first game of your group stage, you have a 60% chance to make it out of the group. Right? Obviously, it's right. Obviously, it's not a lock by any means. Every game is going to be critical, right? Game by game by game. And you got to take it one game at a time. We know that if you've listened to any coach, if you've been in any professional sports setting, it's a game at a time. But obviously that first game is going to be pretty big. Before we get there, though, Ryan, you mentioned some friendlies. So not quite there yet, right? The United States is about to enter this interesting window where we're going to have our 2 friendlies. They are going to be the World Cup prep matches before the World Cup. But a lot's going to happen between those friendlies and the World Cup overseas in the Premier Leagues,
Correct,
for their club teams. But walk us through those friendlies. What's going to happen? Who are we playing?
So September 23rd, early morning for us over here. Probably it's like 2 p.m. Over there in Germany. The U.S. is going to play Japan in Germany. Both of these games are being played in Europe. I'm not sure why. I don't know if it has something to do with just less traveling for the players, because they're all going to be mostly playing overseas in their club teams, and this isn't going to be played like, oh, the U.S. goes to Japan or Japan comes to us. So kind of a neutral site. Japan is considered the home team for this game. Same with the next game that we play. So both games, the U.S. is considered the away team. Mm-hmm. But we play September 23rd, we play Japan. And then the 27th, we play Saudi Arabia.
If you're you looking in on this team, do you have a shot at making the roster if you're called up for these 2 games?
Um, uh, it depends on how you play, right? A- anyone that gets called up can make it. If Malik Tillman, a guy that hasn't really played that many games, right?
Mm-hmm.
They call him in. They're like, "Hey, you're gonna start the game against Japan. Show us what you got." And if he produces like 2 assists and a goal, right, in the 90 minutes, maybe he plays the whole game, plays 90 minutes, and he gets a goal and 2 assists, right? That's huge. Like that's making a solid case because Japan is in no way a pushover. Japan is a good soccer nation. Like they're not like one of the tops, but they're still a good enough
They've
team
had
that
some shockers in previous
yes,
World Cups. They are definitely a team that is underrated. They have a lot of individual skill. They move the ball around really well. And like a lot of those top Asian nations, they have a very unique play style that not a lot
correct.
of teams play against frequently.
And some things I've been reading makes it look like Greg Berhalter might try out the 3-4-3 for these games instead of the 4-3-3 because he wants to get those guys the ability to, if they have to change in the middle of a game. So say we're playing in the World Cup, we're playing England, we're down 1-0 and there's like 20 minutes left. The ability to quick shift to a 3-4-3 in the middle of the game would be huge. Get those extra guys attacking. You already know how to play in that formation. So there's a chance we might see some of that in these games because some articles I've been reading make it seem like this would be the time to do it.
Oh, completely agree. I think this is the time to get serious, right? If all the other games, he was pretty true to his guns, right? He stuck to them. We're here to qualify. We're here to get these points, and he played tactics, lineups, players, strategies, everything that went along with that game plan. Now it's a completely different time. Now it's time to go. These 3 games, that's it. It's coming down to 3 games. We have to be ready if we go down early to Wales. We have to be ready if we go down early
Correct.
to England because we
Even
have
if
to
we
be
go
able
down
to
early
break
to
down
Iran.
to Iran. We have to be able to break down a low block. We have to be able to look at a team like England who has a very dominant midfield and a very dominant strike force and realize 20 minutes in the 4-3-3 is not working. We don't have enough midfield pressure. We got to slide Adams up in there. We got to open the midfield up. We got to get attacking space. So, I mean, from that stance, I completely agree. And I do believe it's something Berhalter should experiment with. And we'll see how he feels about it.
And so when you asked if guys could get called up to play in these games, I don't think either one of these games will weigh more on the decision of Berhalter. Both teams are good. They've qualified for the World Cup.
Well,
That
so then
right
let me
there
ask you
tells you.
this.
That right there tells you they have to be good, right? Only 32 teams make it. Saudi Arabia doesn't come out of an easy group, right? Like neither does Japan. Like everyone can say, well, they're not playing in Europe, right? Or South America, so it's not that hard for them to qualify for the World Cup. But when you look at Japan and you realize they had
Is
to
Saudi
get
Arabia in
through
Group C?
um
They're with
like
Argentina, Ghana, and Poland?
like in the actual World Cup, the group?
Did they
Or
make
did you
it?
mean yes, no, they made it.
I didn't.
They are in Group C with Mexico, Poland, and Argentina.
How do I have that flag wrong?
Because you might not have you probably have Saudi Arabia's flag, not the KSA flag.
I don't even have. I didn't even draw Mexico on this board. Oh, I did. Sorry, the lighting is bad. I thought it was Ghana's flag. It is not. It's Mexico's. It's right there. Yes, with
Right.
Mexico. Sorry.
So like Saudi Arabia doesn't. Yes, okay, it might be a little easier for them to qualify, not having to play teams like England and your other European like power
Yeah,
clubs like
France,
Germany,
Netherlands, Germany.
but
Yeah.
but it's not an easy walk out of their qualifying group. Same with Japan. Like it's not an easy walk.
Right. I mean, even in CONCACAF, right, we found that out with teams that really have
Correct.
no right playing on the world stage. It certainly wasn't a waltz out of anything.
I think this will be big for guys who are looking to solidify a spot, especially with the expanded roster of an extra 4 guys. Because FIFA has officially announced they're allowing 26 players instead of 22.
Mm-hmm.
So you get those extra 4. So that's huge because now guys that were like possibly on the cusp are now most likely going to make it. Like a De La Torre, who might not have made the squad, right? He could have been like that 23rd guy, is now
Correct.
almost guaranteed that he's going, barring an injury or just an absolute terrible performance in these two friendlies. I don't see why he wouldn't get taken, right? And this also gives guys a chance to show that they deserve to be there, that are already there. Like someone like a Tim Weah. Like we know he's going, right? We're pretty sure he's going, but this is a way to show him like don't make a mistake. I should be going and I should be starting.
Agreed. Well,
Right, guys.
before we get into any of those guys, though, I want to step back just a little bit and say, if you're Greg Berhalter, are you calling anybody up? Like, are you calling anybody up for these games? And if you are you calling them up with the hope that they could break out into this squad?
So guys I could see Greg Berhalter calling up to see that could break out and make the World Cup roster. That might not actually be going as of right now. Joe Scally, I would like to see him get some more games on defense under his belt against some world-class teams.
Mm-hmm.
Not not playing in the CONCACAF Nations League where he gets to play against like Honduras, right? Not that Honduras is like a bad,
right.
like,
yeah,
but,
we can sort of skip the semantics now, right? We're talking World Cup caliber
yes,
teams.
like let's see Joe Scally play against guys that play striker in the Premier League for Japan, or something like that. So see how he can match up, because he's looked shaky because he's only got two starts, two caps. He's looked shaky in them. Let's give him a chance to play against a world-class team, see how he holds up. So I'd like to see him get some time. Malik Tillman has been playing very well overseas.
Mm-hmm.
I could see him being called up to get a chance to play. I personally would like to see Buzio. I know his team got relegated, which kind of hurts his stock value, as they say, because now he's not playing in as good of a league.
Right.
Because the team he's on is relegated, but I would still like to see him move up, because I think he could be a guy that could make those serviced balls to guys like Jesus Ferreira or Christian Pulisic or Timothy Weah that land, even Weston McKennie, that are played dangerously, that give us a chance to score a goal. And then Haji Wright. As much as I don't think anyone's going to take that number 9 spot from Jesus Ferreira, just based on how well he's been playing in the MLS. And I know that doesn't, if he scores goals in the MLS but doesn't score for the men's team, that's not good. We need someone to score. But it would be nice to see a guy that could come on the field if needed, right? So say we're down a goal and we decide to get more of an attacking pressure, so we take off a guy like De La Torre, who's not goal-minded, right? He's more of a guy that's going to make plays, make assists, and we put on a guy like Haji Wright, who's focused on, when I get the ball, I want to shoot and try to score, right? So it'd be nice to see someone like him get a little bit of playing time. I don't think Jordan Pefok I would call up. As much as people are saying he should get a chance, I don't like the way he plays. If I was Greg Berhalter, I would not call him up to give him a shot to have a chance to make the roster here. So,
all right. So let's take a segue now into, you mentioned Jesus Ferreira. You mentioned you're pretty sure nobody's going to take the spot from him. About a week ago, I want to say maybe within the last 4 or 5 days, like I said, Greg Berhalter interviewed by Alexi Lalas and his co-part on State of the Union podcast. And love Alexi Lalas, hate Alexi Lalas, be indifferent about Alexi Lalas.
Just hate.
He's very blunt, right? And he's got a very not tactful way of saying,
correct,
basically everything. And in this case, it sort of works, because as Greg Berhalter is very good at giving the coach's answer, right? He just kind of tells you what you think you want to hear, but then doesn't really give you any definites. And
they've got that.
Hey, do you want to play MLS guys or do you want to play EPL guys? And Greg Berhalter's like, we're just looking to make the best decision for the squad, and we're just going to check fitness in the middle of the game. And you're like, that didn't answer my question, but you get it, right? You can't expect
because he's done 8 million interviews before, right? So he knows exactly what to say to not tell anything.
Right. Now, Alexi Lalas asked a couple questions that have been asked 100 times very directly, and we got roughly the same answer. But given how close we are to the World Cup and how many times the questions have been answered, you can read into them a little bit more. So Alexi Lalas says, "You don't hate John Brooks, right? Why is John Brooks not in the squad? Right? You hate him?
Oh
You don't
God.
hate him, right?" That's what he says. And he looks at him. He says, "I'm keeping my open dialogue with John Brooks. I'm doing whatever." But then he says, "It's about form, and we're looking for players who are playing at top form right now." And you've heard the John Brooks conversation over and over and over again. It's something that I've been chirping this whole time. I just don't
He
think
should
John
not
Brooks
be
is a
on the
caliber.
team.
Right, he's not a caliber player that should be on this roster. And it doesn't matter that our center back is hurt. He's just not the direction that we want to go. So it was nice to hear Berhalter kind of make that statement. He goes to the goalkeeping, right? And he says, you got it. This is a battle in here, right? What are you looking for from your goalies? Berhalter says, "I like that Matt Turner and Horvath switched to clubs where they're going to see more playing time."
Correct.
Right? So we know that playing time is going to be a factor, right? Because he said form is going to be a factor. He also says he needs a goalie who's good with the ball at his feet, can communicate with his defense, and is good in the air on crosses, right? That made a lot of the media lean towards Matt Turner over Zach Steffen, but that's really not clear cut still. But what we do know is he's looking for guys who are playing. He did mention he would love to see Zach Steffen make a move for himself to get more playing time, and I think Zach Steffen did. I'm not too familiar on where all those transfers had kind of
I
happened.
I think he went down, not down, but
I thought he
went
went down. I thought he went down or something. I know Horvath might have moved, but they then bring up Johnson, and Berhalter
No, he's
doesn't.
still at M's
He's still at
Manchester
MC.
City.
So like Berhalter doesn't rule it out, but he does make comments that suggest
Yes.
I'm finally, and this is what was relieving. I'm finally not interested in MLS guys because I'm going to have to now admit it is lower quality, right? If I had to pick a set of goalies and I have Matt Turner playing consistently, at Liverpool, right? He's playing backup at Liverpool. Berhalter did say he's noticed a world of change in his game.
Correct.
You're not going to take an MLS player, even if he's, 4 clean sheets and 27 saves. You're probably still not taking this goalie over Turner. And then he mentions, and to the point that you had said, it seems like your relationship with Ferreira makes him a lock for the number 9, right? Lalas just kind of comes out and says it. And Berhalter gives his pretty traditional answer and says, we're still kind of looking for it. But then Berhalter says something really interesting that I haven't heard him say yet, which is this. He says, lots of nations struggle with a number 9. He said, France just won the World Cup and they played with a false 9. He said, we're currently doing it because it's our tactic, it's in our strategy. We're not ruling out changing our formation and changing our tactics to play with a false 9 or no 9 at all.
Correct.
And that brings us sort of back to the comment that you had brought up about the research in the media of I would expect to see different tactics played against Saudi Arabia and against Japan, because in it didn't work, right? The number 9 position didn't work, and you have a winger like Weah, you have a winger like Brendan Aronson. They're both very dangerous. You have another winger in Reyna, right? You have a midfielder in Christian Pulisic. You have players who play these not number 9, right? Off 9 striking spots that are creating lots of results. And then Ferreira, like you said, he's doing great. It's MLS. What does it line up to? Like, I think a lot is going to happen. And I think in the next month or so, especially after the friendlies, we're going to have to start hearing straight answers from Berhalter, because there's going to be no more tiptoeing around the issue.
Sure, yeah, you're 100% right, I believe, about everything you're saying there. But that being said, these games the U.S. play could show that we do have a number 9, right? And then we don't need to, like, if Jesus Ferreira has 2 unbelievable games against Japan and Saudi Arabia and puts in like 4 or 5 goals in between the 2 games, you start to think, okay, maybe he has found it, right? Maybe all those goals in the MLS that he's 27 games, 15 goals, right? That's pretty good. He's scoring almost a goal. He's scoring more than a goal every other game.
Right.
Like that's good for a striker to be able to say, like, oh, I didn't score last game, that means I'm going to score this game.
When he's coming off how many goals in his last game?
I think he had 2.
In that friendly, didn't he have 4?
Oh, friendly. I thought you were talking about the MLS.
Oh, no. Yeah, I'm talking
Sorry.
about, like, yeah, correct. For the MLS, you're right. I'm thinking, when he puts his jersey on, though, he's walking off 4 goals, right?
Correct.
Granted, we understand the team
Well,
that we had
did
played
he
against.
play against El Salvador?
They all say, right. But, he might have, but, I mean, you think about that game, right? Like,
It
granted,
was
sure.
Morocco's not bad. They made the World Cup.
No, I'm not saying the Morocco game. I'm saying when we played in that weird
Oh,
the
you're talking
June
about
Gold Cup Nations,
yeah. Okay.
Nations, whatever, and I know we played El Salvador and somebody. I don't
Yeah,
even
it was.
remember who. It didn't begin with a G.
Was it Granada?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was Granada.
Yeah,
was
that's
just
right.
Like, dang.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry, for some reason I knew we beat Morocco, and I just remember that kind of being one of the last games.
Yeah. Why did it give me when I clicked on results? All it gave me was the women, and I'm
Because they're the only ones they've been playing games.
Oh yeah, technically, I guess you're right.
So,
Yeah,
but
El Salvador was 1-1. We beat Granada 5-0, and he had
That's
4
right.
more goals.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to the friendlies. There's some guys you could see. I would be okay seeing George Bello, even Reggie Cannon playing, get some playing time to see how they fit in, especially with Miles Robinson being hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Looking for somebody that can fill in next to Walker Zimmerman and be strong, so that you can have Anthony Robinson and Serginho Dest on the wings. And for people that are like, well, Serginho Dest isn't on the roster and DeAndre Yedlin is, there's no actual way DeAndre Yedlin gets the starting position over Serginho Dest unless Serginho Dest physically can't run.
Correct. It's going to have to be a form question, right? If we're looking at form and Serginho Dest just can't actually make it happen, then I would expect to see DeAndre Yedlin playing. But we're here, right? Let's get into this, okay? Let's break this down, right? We're gonna look at you. We're gonna do what everybody else has been doing, right? It's that time. Let's bring it over. Let's get to a starting 11. All right. So U.S. men's starting 11, right? We got a blank slate. Okay.
All right.
Let's start with positions. First off, we know that we're going to assume a formation, right? We're going to assume the United States is going into the World Cup playing a 4-3-3.
Yes, because it's what we've been playing literally every game for.
All right. So
all of qualifying.
Who is your starting lineup across the back?
Okay, so me personally, I put Zach Steffen in goal.
Okay.
Just because to me he has proved to be better all around than Matt Turner, and especially with comments of now everyone basically is speculating it's going to be Matt Turner based on comments Greg Berhalter has said. I would like to see Zach Steffen. Because I believe he is better, and he's better with the ball at his feet, and I think that's something we're going to need come world-class teams. When our defenders get the ball, we're going to need to be able to rely on playing the ball back to the goalie and knowing he's not going to, turn the ball over.
All right, so now you're back 4.
You go... Me, personally, I'm taking Aaron Long and Walker Zimmerman in the middle.
Okay.
And then Serginho Dest and Anthony Robinson on the wings, respectively. I believe Anthony plays left, Serginho plays right. I think. I might have it backwards.
I'm going to just keep plugging these guys in here as you tell me about them. Let's see. Everybody's going to have to handle my awkward.
No, I'm almost positive because I remember Serginho Dest running down the right side of the field.
Yep. No, you're 100% right.
Okay.
And you got Aaron Long here.
Yep. I think Aaron Long. Now I could also see someone like Joe Scally in there. I could also see like a George Bello, depending on these friendlies, how they play, right? It's not guaranteed for Aaron Long, but out of all of the ones I have seen play there, he is the one I believe should start next to Walker Zimmerman.
So, and then going through the depth chart, right? The options that we have in these positions, right? Cameron Carter-Vickers as a center back, George Bell as a center back, Chris Richards hurt, so we don't have access to him, at least not currently, to the last time I checked. Serginho Dest, we have a backup to DeAndre Yedlin. So we have depth. It's not incredible, but the good news about our backs are I don't think the difference between our starter and our backup is so vast, with the exception
Correct.
of Destin Zimmerman, right? I like Robinson as a player. I think there are lots of players who can fit in his position and fit in his spot. But I think, with the exception of Zimmerman and Dest, the other two spots are, if we played two other guys, I don't know how much we're going to feel it.
Yeah. So
Right,
now
you got three guys in the midfield. When they got to this point in the interview, Alexi Lalas was like, "It's probably a no-brainer. I'm not even sure why I'm asking you this, because he felt like the three were pretty locked up." Right, I'm not even
yeah.
asking you your first one. I'm just going and grabbing him and putting him on.
Yeah, so obviously so this is what I believe will happen. This is not what I would want. So what I believe is going to happen, it's going to be Adams, McKinney, Musa. That seems to be the pretty big consensus of what three guys are going to start. I personally would remove Yunus Musa and put in Luca Della Torre. We don't need a midfielder who likes to take a lot of touches on the ball. And Yunus Musa tends to dink around with the ball for too long and then turns it over. And I don't think we need that in our midfield, especially against teams like England, because if we lose the ball in the midfield because you're dinking around with it and you turn it over, England will make us pay for that.
100%.
There is no ifs and or buts. If Harry Kane and Raheem Sterling get an odd man break or they're wide open, they are not going to miss. They are going to punish us for it. So I don't think Yunus Musa is the right choice, in my opinion. I like Della Torre more because he's quicker and smarter with the ball at his feet. He doesn't tend to hold on to it. He tends to give it away and make the smart pass. Not the best pass. Like, it might not be the one that's like, oh, if I make this pass, I'm going to look great. But he makes the smart, easy one, like the right choice. Like, I could play this ball all the way across the field, and if it lands on this guy, it's great. Or I could just do the smart ball and play it right here to this guy, maybe do a quick 1-2. And he does that. And you've seen that in his games where he always tends to make the smart decision, in my eyes.
Mm-hmm. And I like the point that you made against Harry Kane. I'm a Tottenham fan. I've been a Tottenham fan for the last couple of years now, and Harry Kane
Even
just
after the
scored.
fight,
He just scored his 185th goal in the Premier League for
even
Tottenham.
after the big brawl in Chelsea Tottenham, you're still a fan?
Even after it. Oh yeah. I mean, you gotta love those kind of derbies, man. It's fun. It's hot and heated. And he's such a dangerous striker, right? He's one of those strikers in the world that he might not get a lot of chances, but when he gets one, he's going to get a goal scoring opportunity, right? And it means, you're talking goal post, the goalie making a great save, or most likely a goal, right? This is a big task for a Walker Zimmerman or an Aaron Long, especially, like you said, when you have players like Raheem Sterling who love to run at the defense, right?
Correct.
If Adams doesn't track him, if he gets picked up, if there's a miscue in marking and Raheem Sterling runs at you, we know clinically that our back four has a huge problem of overcommitting to balls and losing their marks when we get panicked and the back row gets pressed. And if
Exactly why I think Yunus Musa is a bad idea in the midfield, because turning those balls over in the midfield will instill that panic because, I just turned the ball over in the midfield. Our whole team's out of position and they just played the ball to Harry Kane, right? That's panic.
right,
That's massive panic.
massive panic. Massive panic. All right, up front. You got
This is,
three guys to pick up
yep.
front.
And this is a pretty no-brainer in my eyes. I really don't see a different three starting. It's Timothy Weah, Christian Pulisic, and Jesus Ferreira. I really don't see a different three starting. Brendan Aronson is a great 60th minute sub for Timothy Weah. Put a brand new fresh legs, a guy that can run, who's dangerous. Get him on the field late. Maybe some guys for England or Wales, England, Iran are tired, and you have a guy who can run, who's dangerous with the ball, and you just let him attack the defense. So I think Brendan Aronson would be our one of our subs up front. And as much as I know you're not going to like this, I could see Paul Arriola being a sub for up front just because of how well him and Jesus Ferreira work together. And that being form and how well they are in form, that's something to look at where form-wise, those two work very, very well together and score a lot of goals in the MLS together. So those is who I could see coming in up front, but I still think it'll be Weah, Pulisic, and Ferreira as your starting three up front.
Yeah. So if you've been following U.S. soccer, this what you're looking at is probably pretty familiar to you. As a matter of fact, you're probably just really tired of looking at this. If you're not familiar with U.S. soccer, you haven't been keeping track of the lineups. This is what we're looking at. Allie just pulled in and she just gave me a look that's like, I just bought way more stuff than you're going to be happy about. We'll find out. So when you look at the back four, with the exception of Aaron Long, those other three guys were locked in, right? We see Aaron Long coming in because of the injury to Robinson, right? You've seen consistently McKinney, Adams, and Musa play those spots in the midfield. The only one of those guys being flexed in and out was Yunus Musa, right? Yunus Musa either getting subbed out, Yunus Musa just not getting starts just because he seemed to be the youngest guy and he was looking for players to get experience and playing time. That being said, McKinney and Adams have also had a string of injury where they've been hurt and they weren't able to play for us. Right?
McKinney is just coming off one.
Correct, just coming off for a long time, right? We actually
No, a new one. Did you see the shoulder injury?
No, I didn't see the shoulder injury, but I'm talking like back when we started World Cup qualifying, right?
Correct.
Before then, we were playing in the Nations Cup and the Gold Cup. We did it without a Pasilic. We did it without McKinney. We did it without an Adams. We had to rely on the depth that we had of our players. So when you think about the midfield, it's the one spot that in every interview and every conversation, I mean, Lawless named a ton of players, and when he got done, Berhalter stopped him and said, what about boom, 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 and was able to rattle off 3 or 4 more guys. It's not a problem of depth, and it's a good problem to have, right?
Correct.
We have way too many players that we could play, and I'm hoping that in the training camp, in the footage, the scouting from overseas, and we start to try to see who has certain strengths against certain tactics so that we can make smart substitutions and changes based on the teams that we're playing against, right? Up front. Sorry, finish. Midfield statement.
It's not a midfield statement, but my question to you would be, looking at who I picked for my 11, do you make changes to yours?
So
do you have a different starting 11?
I do have a different starting 11, but it's going to take me a second to really break down why I have a different starting 11. In this top 3 stance, right, the Pasilic, Ferreira, and Weah, we've seen it over and over and over again, and the only part of it that doesn't work is Pasilic and McKinney kind of playing over the top of each other and making it really, really awkward, right? So this is the lineup that you would have, right? I'm going to go through, and I'm gonna make some of the changes that I would make, and I'm going to do it this way. So what I want to do is this. I'm going to keep the same hypothetical, right? If I had to play a 4-3-3, okay?
Correct.
Who would I be playing in that 4-3-3 scenario, and why would I be playing it? And I've only blocked out, I'm going to wind up blocking out, I believe, 3 players. And I'm going to get the guys that I have in place. So the first change that I would make is just a goalkeeping change. Anybody who's been following our podcast knows I don't necessarily think there's too much of a difference between Matt Turner and Zach Steffen. I think they're basically the same kind of caliber of goalie. I just have that kind of enjoyment, gut, whatever. I just like Matt Turner, right? I like watching him play. I like seeing him play. It is what it is.
Which is fine.
The next change that I would make, just because I really like this player, I don't think you're going to disagree with me on this. I definitely think it's somebody that you would love to see and you would not be upset to see in the starting lineup, is I would replace Musa with Delatorre. So
that's what I said.
Oh, that is what you said.
Yeah, so I said what I believe was going to happen is those 3.
Gotcha. Sorry,
But then I said what I would start would be Delatorre, just because he's safer than Yunus Musa.
Perfect. Okay, so you and I have the exact same 3 in the midfield. And then again,
what about the back 4?
The back 4. As much as I've looked at the different players, you're going to have to deal with Ember Barkin. It's going to be really hard for me to replace Aaron Long. Even with some of the guys that we have that I think are more quality, just because we need synergy in our back 4 and we need guys who play well together. And Aaron Long and Walker Zimmerman have just been playing nonstop. Now, Here is something that I will say. The MLS isn't playing. and the
Correct.
EPL is. I would not be surprised or against not playing Aaron Long in favor of any center back we have who's actually in season and in form. So, any of the guys that we have that are actually playing overseas, I would rather see them playing in the center back position than guys who are trying to get their feet underneath them and training on their own and stuff like that. And then the
Okay.
last change that I'm gonna make, and it's gonna be weird because this player doesn't play in this position, and I don't think we're gonna play them there regardless, right? And so I'm gonna kind of give like a example here is, I would play Aronson up top. He has been very aggressive for leads, and he finishes balls in the box on crosses, and he seems to find himself in that position that Jesus Ferreira is trying to find. Jesus Ferreira has recently found himself in all those positions, has had a lot of quality goal scoring opportunities. So this is also kind of like a loaded answer from me, right? Given the form that Jesus Ferreira is currently in, I would probably keep him up front in that number 9 spot if we had to play a 4-3-3, right? He certainly hasn't lost his role, and I don't think anybody has performed to a level that's going to take it from him. Even if I think Aronson's a better player, Aronson's not technically playing in the 9 spot, right? So I would keep Ferreira up there. If that game against Wales was a disaster, even if we won and he just didn't perform and didn't have opportunities, and I truly felt like the United States men kept him in the game, I would make that change and try to play another player in that spot. Now, what I ideally want to see, and I'm going to line it up right now, is I would love to watch the United States play a 4-4-2, especially with teams against England. And so what I would do is I would have Adams and McKinney in the center midfield, right? They would be playing McKinney just above Adams.
Yep. Kind of like they do now.
Yep, kind of like they do now, and Adams playing just behind him, right? I would have De La Torre. De La Torre would play out on the right, and he would play
on the left.
Yeah, and he would play kind of inside, and then yes, I would have Christian Pulisic play out on the left. Now, I could also see, right, ideally, Weston McKennie playing out on the left and Pasilic playing on the inside, but I don't think it matters too much because they're both such high caliber players. They could make that communication change on the field, and it's not something Berhalter would have to necessarily do form-wise, right?
Correct.
Then what I would do is I would have Aronson playing slightly above Tim Weah up on the left. So we would have 2 strikers. I would have Aronson playing as my left striker, and I'd have Tim Weah playing as my right striker, right?
You don't believe in the man.
I'm not saying that it's working or it's not working. This is just something, as if I had to be a coach, this is the tactic that I would play. And this is the 11 that I would play. Now, you mentioned that we might have to move to a 3-4-3.
Correct.
So now I want you to give me that. How do you change the lineup that we originally had, right, if we need to see a 3-4-3? I'm going to go back to your guys. I have Ferreira's up there, Weah's up there.
So I'll start in the back. I'll start in the back. So we'll start in the back, and we'll go. The 3 in the back would be Walker Zimmerman in the middle, Serginho Dest, and Anthony Robinson.
Okay, so you've said we don't need Aaron Long.
We'll pull Aaron Long out of there. We're going to rely on attack because Serginho Dest and Anthony Robinson like to jump in the plays as those backs, the wing backs, and they like to make those overlapping runs because this 3-4-3 is about trying to help us score goals, right? We went down. We're looking to score, right? So we're going to take off guys that are...
It's an excellent point to remember.
We're not going to take off everybody that's defensive-minded, but we're going to take off some of them, and we're going to play a strategy of just go. So then I think for our midfield, we shift into Pulisic on the left, Adams, McKinney, and then a De La Torre. Or if we want to be even a little more aggressive, a Kellen Acosta. Right? Because Acosta is great on set pieces, and he's got that mentality of get the ball in the box, create dangerous scoring opportunities. So he wouldn't be a bad person to get out there for our 4 in the mid. And then 3 up front, I think you go Aronson, Ferreira, Timothy Weah. But now, this being said, this could be 60 minutes into a game, we shift our formation, right? So for all we know, Timothy Way has already been subbed out. So that means you could have a Brendan Aronson, a Paul Arriola, and a Jesus Ferreira as your front three. You could have a Jordan Morris up there, right? Like, we might not start in that 3-4-3, and it could be like let's sub out Aaron Long and put on like Kellen Acosta, and then all of a sudden we're playing that 3-4-3 just out of nowhere, right?
Right.
So
Yeah, I completely agree. I think this is definitely something that I could see doing. I also could see us doing this, right? I also could see us going, okay, we have to go to a 3-4-3. So I'll kind of give you my 3-4-3. I would play Robinson, Zimmerman, Dest across the back. I agree with you. I would play Weston McKennie, Tyler Adams, Kellen Acosta, and Timothy Weah.
okay, yep, I could see that.
The middle, and then I would have Pasilic, Ferreira, and Brendan Aronson up front.
You wouldn't drop Pulisic back into a midfield position, which is where he normally plays.
I could,
when
and,
you
and
get
I
that
could
extra
also do that.
midfielder.
I could also say, like, either way, I think Yunus Musa's coming off the field,
and one of the strikers on is dropping into that spot.
and we're playing, or we're bringing, because like you could bring Aronson on as like one of those halfback wingers, but I think that you need like you need Acosta on the field for services, right? If I think about what you said is we're doing this because we have to go forward, we have to score goals, right? Which means we need the ball in the corner, we need to get the ball in deep, and we need to get the ball in the box. Kellen Acosta has very dangerous services, whereas Yunus Musa tries to play flat balls to guys making breaking runs. If you keep Yunus Musa on the field, right? If we keep Yunus Musa in the center, right? Then Kellen Acosta doesn't come on, and you're going to put Delatorre or Aronson out on the right. So between Acosta, Musa, Weah, and Aronson and Delatorre, I think between those 5 players, 3 of them make up that dynamic of who do I need right now to control my center midfield, and who do I believe can collectively attack up the right-hand side, right?
And
we've
that's
watched
why I
Aaron
think
Long do it, and it was interesting, right? We've watched Aaron Long do it. We've watched Jordan Morris do it. I don't think he's going to be there. I don't even think he's a sub you go to. I agree with you. I think Arriola is next in line. But I do now believe that behind a Timothy Weah is an Aaron Robinson, right? I know that Pasilic can also be subbed off for an Aronson, but I would have to believe.
Is that what you meant when you said Aaron Robinson? You meant Brendan Aronson?
Sorry, yeah, their names are all similar. My brain is confused. Yeah, Weah for Brendan Aronson. I know Pasilic is being pulled off for Aronson a bunch of times, but I do believe that in these games, like if we had to make those switches, he's taken Weah off in weird times. I don't necessarily think you can afford to do that. You certainly can't afford to take off Adams, McKennie, or Pasilic. I think those 3 guys are locked no matter what.
Depends. Like if we're beating Iran 2-0.
I'm saying if we're going to a 3-4-3 and we're down.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. If we're ahead, if it's 2-0 against Wales at halftime, I 100% believe that Christian
especially with the
will come
Heat.
off. Right. And that's the other thing. All right, as a fan, right, as somebody who's looking in on this, here's something that doesn't get brought up a lot that I really need you to take into consideration. Your starting lineup and the subs that you have need to be fluid and flexible enough for every single possible outcome, right? Yes, you're playing for a win. Yes, you have an ideal tactic and strategy. Think about how much better you feel about the roster if you look at the guys that we have on this board right now in front of us, and we're beating Wales 2-0 at halftime, right? Now, you're so happy that Aronson is on the bench because you can rest Pasilic, right? You're so happy that Delatorre is on the bench because you can take out Weston McKennie, because you can rest a Tyler, right? Kellen Acosta is going to come in for Tyler Adams.
And people need to remember that the temperature, yes, it's being played in their winter. The temperature is still going to be 97.
Right. And yes, they got conditioning in the stadiums. I know that a series, the playoff games were played in them. And the people who were there, Lawless included, mentioned it did feel significantly cooler inside the stadium. But, right, it still has the potential to push high 90s, low hundreds.
Correct. So any chance to get a guy off the field when you don't need him on there is huge, because you don't need him cramping up. You don't need him getting hurt because of heat or, like, because even heat stroke, you're going to be out for a while. Like, it's not something you just recover and you're great in a couple of hours.
Right, right. I mean, Premier League's in the second week, right? So you think you're going to have an international break here in probably 3-4 weeks. The United States is going to play their friendlies, right? So you're looking at it'll be match week 6, match week 7, match week 8. You're going to be through probably you're close to the halfway point, right? You're looking at you're going to play September, you're going to play all of October, November, 6, 7, 8. You're looking at match week 14, right?
Yep.
These guys, and you're talking the FA Cup games in there, Champions League games in there, random tournament games in there. A lot can happen between right now and the beginning of the World Cup.
All right, last thing. This will be the last thing. I predict 2-2, 2-0 for the friendlies. We tie Japan 2-2, beat Saudi Arabia 2-0.
I'm going to be bold here. I'm going to be bold. We're going to beat Japan 3-1, and we're going to beat Saudi Arabia 5-0.
Oof. Yikes. Also, the one last thing, because I wanted to bring this up when we mentioned group stage. Our group is the closest in FIFA rankings.
Yep. We have the hardest group FIFA ranking-wise.
Not. I don't know if it's the hardest group, per se, just based on who is in it, but we go from the 5th rank to, like, the 24th. That's it.
Yeah. The gap is super, and the gap is small for a lot of other groups, but yeah, ours is the smallest gap. So,
but I am excited. Not a whole lot. I mean, Weston McKennie did get hurt. It was a shoulder injury. He recovered faster than they thought, so not really anything to worry about there. But you never know with another plant. Nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was hoping I wasn't going to notice that one. That's the one she really wanted to buy. I think it's a fig, but it's exciting. Well, hey guys, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Leave a comment below. We'd love to hear, the players that you're excited to see, the tactics you're hoping to see. We'd love to hear your disagreements. If you think we got guys on the field that shouldn't be on the field, if there's guys on the roster you want to see on the roster.
Yeah. Tell us your starting 11.
Yeah, we'd love it. Comment below. It's your starting 11. As always, we appreciate you guys staying tuned with us even after such a long break, and we will catch you guys next time.